What's up guys, and welcome to the channel. My name's Micah, and today we're going to be talking about banning the AR-15. So we'll talk about if that is reasonable and something we should do. We'll kind of go over the history of the gun, why it was made, what it's best at. We'll talk about why it's always in the news, why it's seemingly always used by these mass shooters. And of course we'll go out to the range, we'll do kind of a shooting test with it. We'll see just how dangerous and deadly this rifle actually is. And then at the end of the video, we'll come up with the most logical conclusion we can of if we need to get rid of this rifle. Stick around guys, this should be super fun. And before we get too far along in the video, I'll definitely show you that this rifle is unloaded, clear, and safe, so you can see that there is nothing in our chamber. Of course, the magazine is empty as well, so safety is first guys. That's extremely important, and we always want to be on top of that. So what is the AR-15? Well, this rifle was designed in the 1950s by a company called Armalite. The letters AR stand for Armalite rifle, not assault rifle, not America's rifle. It was kind of designed because the military was looking to get away from a .30 caliber bullet, which currently all their rifles shot. They wanted something a little bit smaller so their troops could carry more ammunition. So we kind of saw the military make a switch to the .22 caliber rifle round. Now all of these AR-15s are going to shoot .223 and .556 bullets. So it's a .22 caliber round. The military just calls theirs the .556. If you go to your local sporting goods store, you'll typically see it as .223. Same diameter, same size bullet, but just different names there. Now, why in the world would the military want to switch to a smaller caliber bullet? Just so their troops could hold more ammo? Well, at the time when this switch was made, it was deemed an effective method of fighting to just spray bullets at the enemy to keep them behind their cover as your airstrike was on its way to drop the bombs on the enemy. So in no world is a .22 caliber bullet more effective than a .30 caliber bullet. But at the time, for the method of war and fighting that was going on, we just needed to spray more bullets at the enemy. We didn't really care if they were effective, if they were hitting the target. You know, we had the planes on the way. That was just kind of how we were fighting wars back then. Now, why is this style of rifle and those bullets still used in today's military? Well, the rifles and ammo are just so cheap to make that you still see them using those bullets, this style of rifle, but I think we're going to see a switch fairly soon. Especially considering that .223 and .556 rounds will not penetrate the body armor worn by the majority of militaries around the world. Seems kind of funny that we're shooting bullets that won't go through the enemy's armor, but like I said, it's really just holding them down until our planes get there. So let's just kind of talk about that .22 caliber round, that .223 versus say some .30 caliber rounds versus your 9mm, the most common handgun round, and kind of compare some things. So almost all .30 caliber rounds are going to have a longer effective range, being able to hit targets further out and still be deadly, making a bigger hole or wound cavity in the target. And in general, almost everything about a .30 caliber round is just going to be more effective than a .22 caliber round. Now comparing that .223 or .556 round to say maybe a 9mm, right? A very common handgun round. Well, that 9mm bullet is going to be almost twice as wide as that .223 or .556 round. You get a hollow point or expanding round in a 9mm, it is going to open up significantly further than that .22 caliber round. Now that .22 caliber rifle round is going to fly faster than that 9mm round, so it has a longer effective range, but at a close range target, I'd almost take the 9mm. The bullets are significantly heavier, almost twice as wide, and a good hollow point round will disperse all of its energy into that target without the fear of over-penetration. Now, of course, we see the military using that .22 caliber round, but if you go to your local sporting goods store, your outdoor outfitters, your local gun shop, and if you look up the .556 .223 ammunition, what is it designed for? Well, the .223 is actually a varmint round, which is no surprise to me. I mean, the bullet is so small. Occasionally you can find some .223 rounds that are rated to maybe take down some white-tailed deer or something like that, a larger target, but it is definitely not recommended. In fact, in some states it's actually illegal to hunt deer with the .223 round. It's just so ineffective on larger targets. Now, one time I was able to take down a deer with a 223 round. That deer did not die right away, and I will never use that round for hunting deer again. I did not like it. It was extremely ineffective. It did do the job, but it was kind of like winning the lottery. The 223 round is actually designed for large rodents, coyotes, foxes, groundhogs, definitely the smaller things. So it's definitely hilarious to me that this rifle shooting those bullets is deemed the ultimate manslayer. That is just flat out not true. Now, some people say that this gun is so deadly because of the high ammo capacity that it has. You know, the one that we have here came standard with a 30 round magazine. Now, while that is a larger, higher capacity than most of your standard handguns and things like that, I don't really deem that a reason to call this rifle any more deadly than the gun next to it. You can get high-capacity magazines and drum magazines for almost any pistol or rifle these days. I have seen 100-round magazines for a variety of rifles, 50 to 100-round magazines for pistols as well. Having that huge, high-capacity magazine on your gun loaded with bullets is so much weight, it makes your gun, your pistol or rifle, extremely unwieldy. It's almost like you were playing baseball and added 10 pounds to your baseball bat. It's going to be a little bit harder to swing that bat and hit the ball. And even if we banned the high capacity magazines, let's say magazines that are over 15 rounds, 10 rounds, 20, whatever it may be, all you have to do to reload this gun is press a button and put in the next magazine. With a little bit of practice, you can easily do that yourself in under 2 seconds. So I don't think that restricting the magazine size capacity is making any gun, handgun or rifle, less deadly. Even on pistols and handguns, it's just as easy to change the magazine. So if we change the magazine capacity down to 10, normally this gun has a 17 round capacity. I'll show you that it's clear and safe, totally empty there. Changing the magazine is as simple as pushing one button and throwing in the second one. You can easily do it yourself, under 2 seconds, no practice training required. So I don't think that any magazine capacity on any gun out there has anything to do with how effective, dangerous, or deadly it is. Now, the number one reason that there is talks of banning this rifle, the AR-15, is because it's seemingly always used in these mass shootings by the shooters. And there's going to kind of be 4 different reasons for that, why they are choosing this rifle as opposed to any other gun next to it at the gun store. The first reason may come as a surprise to some of you, but these AR-15s are so cheap. You walk into the gun store and an AR-15 will be one of the cheapest rifles that you can possibly buy there. And there's a couple different reasons for that. I mean, there's a lot of plastic parts on these rifles, you know, the hand guards, the sights, the stocks, the magazines, the grips. Plastic doesn't cost that much. If this gun had a lot of wood, more metal on it, it might be more expensive, but it's got so much plastic on it. They've made this thing since the 1950s, and so there's so many parts, so many things out there for them that you can just manufacture these rifles for just nothing. All it takes is a few $100 and you can go out and buy yourself an AR-15. The second reason that you see these AR-15s used by these mass shooters is because they're just so common. You can walk into about any gun store and they will have more AR-15s than any other rifle there. With them shooting that smaller bullet, I mean, the ammo is cheap, you know, it doesn't have a ton of recoil, so for all the sissies out there, it doesn't really scare them that much. They're just kind of a fun, sporting, target practice type rifle. They do kind of look like a military style rifle, right? So I think that's popular for some people, but kind of builds off the first point that we went over, that they're just so cheap. I mean, any store, no matter what they sell or carry, will always have the most cheap things in stock versus the most expensive things. So with the ARs being so cheap, that kind of makes them super common. The third reason that we typically see the ARs used by the mass shooters kind of builds off the first and second point. It's just that they're easier to get than, say, a handgun. You know, in most states, you have to be 21 to purchase a handgun, whereas a rifle, maybe you can get at 18. Also, in a lot of states, you need a handgun purchasing permit in order to get that handgun, whereas you don't need any sort of permit to go out and purchase a rifle. So getting an AR is really just taking the easy route of getting a gun. I mean, it's cheap, they're common, and you don't need a permit. So not that anything about this gun is more dangerous or deadly or effective, it's just the cheapest, most common, easiest to get gun. And then the fourth reason that I think you typically see the mass shooters with the ARs, even though I think the first three are really the reasons, but the fourth reason being that it does look just so militaristic. You know, it does look like the exact rifles that our troops carry. But in no way, shape, or form does this have any function like the actual rifle that we equip our military with. You know, the rifles that our military carries are fully automatic. That means you can hold down the trigger and that baby will just spray bullets until you let off the trigger, right? So going back to why the AR-15 was designed, we just wanted to spray bullets at the enemy to keep them behind their cover until our planes came in, you know, for the airstrikes. So the military's versions are called the M16s. We have the AR-15, and in no way, shape, or form are they fully automatic or can do any of that stuff that the military ones do. They shoot one bullet every time you press the trigger. To fire another bullet, you would have to press the trigger again. So they don't shoot any faster than any other semi-automatic rifle that's out there. They don't shoot faster than any other semi-automatic handgun out there. They certainly look like they would one-up the gun next to it at the gun shop, but in all reality, it's just the same or actually more ineffective than the gun next to it at your local gun store. So calling an AR-15 an assault rifle is like calling a Ferrari with a Toyota Corolla engine in it a race car. I mean, it certainly looks like it might be a race car, but as soon as you start it up and start driving it, everyone will quickly know that is certainly no race car. You know, it has no function like one. It can't do anything that a race car actually does, even though it looks the part as it's just sitting there. You know, it's the same thing for these AR-15s. In no reality is this an assault rifle. It's just a rifle that looks like something the military would carry. And to people who don't really know firearms, who don't really know anything about guns, I certainly understand that they look at this and think that it is some machine gun, assault rifle, just some very deadly, dangerous thing. But we've had many laws in place for a long time that have completely prohibited and banned any sort of assault rifles or machine guns from the civilian market. And I guess I'd say I'm for that. I don't think that machine guns or assault rifles should be legal. But this is not an assault rifle, folks. It is a semi-automatic rifle that looks like something the military would have, but it cannot function like one. It cannot do what the military's rifles do. So it's kind of just a hoax or a gimmick gun, I guess, if you will. So now we're going to go out to the shooting range. We're going to do a couple shooting tests with this gun, with a couple handguns, a couple other rifles, and really see how this AR-15 shooting that .223 round, the 22 caliber bullet, compares to everything else. So this will kind of show you exactly how deadly and dangerous it is compared to the other guns at the gun store that can be purchased. Alright guys, so we're out here at the range, and of course it's windy as hell. It's like a requirement. Every time we go out to shoot, it has to be windy. So we've got a variety of rifles, some handguns here. So we've got a .308 Winchester here. Next to that, we've got a 6.5 Creedmoor. Of course, we have our AR-15, and then we've got a 9mm Glock pistol and a 10mm Glock pistol. So this should be kind of fun to test out all these different calibers and guns next to each other. And what are we going to be shooting today? Pineapples. So everybody seems to shoot like watermelons, pork butts, things like that, but I've never seen anybody shoot pineapples. They're kind of a meaty, sturdy fruit. So I'm excited to see how this goes. So we're just gonna set those out about 10 yards away from us here. And then we'll just take a few shots with these different calibers and see what the results are. All right, so first up, we'll do the AR-15 here. We'll shoot the pineapple. We'll take a couple shots. Maybe it'll only take one because this rifle is so dangerous and deadly. Let's see what happens. I don't know what happened there. Yep, so we shot it. Just a small hole through the front. Kind of a larger exit wound there. So, but yeah. We'll shoot it a couple more times here and see how much it takes to kind of pulverize it. Shot number 2. Kind of hit the top of it. Middle of it. Oh, finally it fell off after 4 shots. So after 4 shots, here's kind of what our pineapple looks like. It did kind of tear it open here a little bit, but definitely didn't knock it off of our stand there until the 4th shot. It's really just because the base was kind of pulverized, but okay, so that's our AR-15 with 223 ammo. Now let's try the 6.5 Creedmoor. All right, so we've got a new pineapple set up. Here's our 6.5 Creedmoor here. Let's see what that does to it. The pineapple is absolutely destroyed after the first shot. And this is the most I could find of the pineapple, kind of 5 just different pieces. It's absolutely destroyed with 1 shot from the 6.5 Creedmoor. Now we're gonna try the 308 Winchester. So now we've got our 308 Winchester. This is kind of your classic 30 caliber round, something similar to what the military used to use. There is just pineapple everywhere here and everything's getting sticky now. But let's see what our 308 does. The same result as the 6.5 Creedmoor. The pineapple is absolutely destroyed. So this is all we have left of the pineapple after the 308 Winchester. You probably saw a piece of pineapple came back and hit us right there. The 308, extremely effective on the pineapple. Now we'll switch to some handguns. All right, so we have a fresh pineapple set up now. This is gonna be a Glock 17. It is a 9mm pistol. So kind of your standard, most common round for a handgun here. Let's see how the 9mm pistol round does against the pineapple. First shot with the 9mm destroyed the pineapple. Let's go inspect the damage. So this is all we could find left of the pineapple from 1 shot from the 9mm. It blew it clean in half. The base is still together, but the only part of the top that we could find is just the stem there. So the 9mm, extremely effective. Now let's try the 10mm. So now we have our Glock Model 20. It is a 10mm pistol, so the bullet is a millimeter wider than the 9mm, and it has a little bit more gunpowder behind it. I would suspect that our pineapple doesn't stand a chance seeing what the 9mm did, but we'll see. So it blew the top clean off of it. I think I shot a little bit high. We're gonna try and lower our shot here and see what we can do to the rest of it. So the 10mm just seems to be taking chunks off the pineapple as if it were a sword or something. Seemingly extremely effective. Well, so after trying out all of our different rifles and pistols that we brought, the 308 was extremely effective, absolutely obliterated the pineapple. The 6.5 Creedmoor had the exact same result, just bits and pieces were left. It was hard to find any remnants. The 9mm completely destroyed the pineapple in the first shot. The 10mm completely severed it and cut it in half. Our AR-15 was by far the most underwhelming out of all the guns that we brought. I mean, after 4 shots, here is our pineapple. You know, there is a hole through the bottom of it, but we don't have any remnants of the other pineapples from all of the other different guns. And our AR-15 left the whole pineapple. So I think our conclusion here is that the AR-15 was the most ineffective gun of all of these here. So now after we got to kind of shoot the gun and compare it to some other handguns and rifles out there, we'll kind of come to our conclusion now of if we should ban this rifle. Should we ban the AR-15? At the end of the day, I don't give 2 shits whether I have an AR-15 or not. You know, I have a variety of guns, pistols and rifles, and I have one AR-15. I kind of just got this to see what it was all about, just to have one, to compare to other rifles, to do a review on one. But after shooting a lot of different guns and knowing about a lot of different type of firearms, this is not my go-to gun. You know, if somebody broke into my house today, I am not grabbing this rifle here. You know, I've got a variety of other guns that I would rather have in my hands than this here. When I'm going out hunting, is an AR-15 my go-to rifle? Absolutely not. It is literally the last rifle that I would take hunting. It's just ineffective if I'm shooting anything besides large rodents, you know, coyotes, groundhogs, small wild hogs. This just isn't a good rifle for anything other than those. Basically, this is kind of just a goofy rifle with a lot of different plastic parts on it that shoots one of the smallest bullets of all time. Yeah, I literally could care less whether I have one of these, an AR-15, or not. Now, what I do care about is the idea of banning guns. The idea of banning certain kinds of guns, because I think that's a very slippery slope to get on. Now, if you want to ban this rifle because you say it's this super dangerous, deadly rifle, well, look at all of the homicides that go down in the US every year. The vast majority, second place is not even close, is done with handguns. Not with AR-15s, not with rifles, shotguns in general, but with handguns. So to say that this is the one that we should ban because sometimes it's used by these mass shooters in these shootings is pretty preposterous to me. And we kind of went over those 4 reasons that primarily happens, that this is the rifle used in those events. It's because it's so cheap, they're so common, you know, it's easier to get than a handgun, and then it has this militaristic, you know, tough look to it. I mean, you look at it, you don't know anything about guns, you think it's better than the one next to it at the gun store by leaps and bounds. And just look at these mass shooters that we've had. These are not smart people. They don't know firearms. They have no tactical military training of any sort. That's why they're ending up with this rifle here. If they did, they certainly would not be choosing this as their tool to do all these heinous things. So say we ban this rifle right here, okay? The AR-15. It's no more, you can't buy one, anything like that. It is literally going to change nothing. There is not going to be less shootings, less mass murders, anything like that. They will just grab whatever was next to this or whatever is put in place of this at the gun store. You know, it could be an AK-47. It could be a handgun. It could be who even knows. But this gun is not the reason for these mass shootings that we're having. And as soon as we ban this, they will realize that, oh, okay, it wasn't the AR-15. And then whatever gun is being used to commit these mass shootings is going to get banned then. So the way I see it going is that we'll ban the AR-15. Suddenly, all the mass shooters are using handguns. We're going to ban handguns. And then suddenly, they'll start using bolt-action hunting rifles. We'll ban those too. And then soon enough, before you know it, suddenly the only guns that we have are black powder musket type rifles that we had 200 years ago. So not that I am some huge AR-15 fan or fanatic. Personally, I think these guns are pretty worthless in the grand scheme of things. Like I said, it's kind of just a gimmick gun. It's kind of a hoax, you know. But I just don't like the idea of banning certain styles of guns because I see that having kind of a domino effect. Then there's the argument of should we just ban all guns altogether? All of your pistols, all your revolvers, the rifles, the bolt action, should we get rid of all of it? And here's what I will say to that. If you could promise me that banning all guns would ensure that there is no more homicides and murders with firearms, that there will be no more mass shootings, no more lives lost, I'd say yes. Take all the guns, here's all my guns. You know, you'd be selfish to say otherwise, right? But there is just too many guns in the country, okay? Not that that is right or wrong, that's just where we are right now, okay? There is too many guns around. So wanting and wishing that there was no guns or wanting to ban all firearms of any sort, that is just wishful thinking. It can literally never happen now. We're too far along. So trying to argue that, trying to have that debate is just wasting your breath. It can never happen. All you're ever going to do is ensure the good people never have firearms. The bad guys are always going to have access to those guns. I don't even know how you would go about banning all of the guns or getting all of the guns. You will never get them all or take them all away. Like, that's just, it can't happen. So just knowing that and accepting that, what is the best solution to where we're at right now? How do we get homicides lower? How do we stop the mass shootings? You know, how do we stop some of this chaos? Well, with the amount of guns that are out there, and again, not that it's right or wrong, it's just where we are at right now, I think the best thing that you can possibly do is just get more guns in the hands of good people. You know, if we just have more good people that are ready to protect themselves or protect others, I feel like that is the only solution at this point. You know, I wish this wasn't going on. I wish that bad people didn't have guns. We all do, you know. It's a very scary thing when a bad person has a firearm. You know, it's terrifying. But I think the only solution with where we're at right now is to ensure that good people have access to the tools that they need to protect themselves and others. So, you know, and it's a tough conversation to have. It's a tough debate of what the right thing to do is. You know, we do have some very tragic events going on these days. And there's some bad people running around. And I'm not trying to act like I know everything or that I have the best or definite solution to all of this. But if you really think about all of it and you kind of evaluate everything, I think you'll just kind of wind up at the same conclusion, you know, that we're at right now. I don't think that this goofy thing right here is the reason for any of this stuff. You know, I feel like it's just a common tool, a common gun, I guess, that's used for some of these tragedies. You know, if you look at crimes committed that involve an automobile, most commonly the automobile is a Honda Accord or Honda Civic. Now, is that because the Honda Accord and Honda Civic are inherently criminal vehicles? No, it's just because they're the most common cars in the country. And so the same thing goes on with this rifle here. It's not inherently bad. It's not more dangerous than the gun next to it. It's just one of the most cheap, common guns out there. So it kind of gets a bad name for itself. But the best thing we can do, guys, is just to educate ourselves the most we can on all these different things and issues and come up with the most logical solution that we can through civil conversation and debate. So thanks for sticking around, guys, to listen to me ramble about all this different stuff. And definitely let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on all these AR-15s and banning them, different firearms, stuff like that. I'd be excited to hear. And like the video if this helped you out. Subscribe if you want to see more. And until next time, have a great night, guys.